Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are plugging in and powering up a story from, well, the very dawn of digital entertainment. And believe me, this story doesn't begin with a joystick or a screen, but with a machine that looked an awful lot like a refrigerator.
So let me ask you, when you think about the first video game, what comes to mind? Pong? Maybe Space War? You're probably picturing something from the 70s or, at the very earliest, the 60s. But what if I told you the real story starts much, much earlier, and not in some computer lab, but somewhere way more public?
That's right, a museum. The first time a computer was built specifically to play a game for everyone to see, it wasn't hidden away in some research facility. No, it was put on display as a cultural artifact, right alongside the latest in art and industrial design.
The year was 1951. You got to remember, the world is still rebuilding after the war, looking forward with this incredible sense of optimism. And it's right in this moment of huge change that a totally new kind of machine makes its debut.
So let's set the scene. We're at the 1951 Festival of Britain in London. This was a massive nationwide celebration of art and industry, meant to showcase the very best of British innovation. And tucked away inside the Science Museum was something nobody had ever seen before.
And that's exactly how people described it, not as some sleek, futuristic computer, but as a huge gray refrigerator. This machine was called the Nimrod, and its one singular purpose was to play a game.
So, what kind of game was so complex that it needed a computer the size of a fridge to play it? Well, the answer is this ancient game of pure mathematical strategy called NIM.
The idea behind it is deceptively simple. You've got a few piles of objects. In this case, they were represented by lights, and two players take turns removing them. The goal? Just don't be the person who has to take the very last piece. It's a game of pure logic, Zero luck involved.
The rules couldn't be simpler, really. Pick a row, take as many items as you want from just that one row, and then it's the next player's turn. But hiding behind that simplicity is a perfect mathematical strategy. If you know the math, you are absolutely guaranteed to win. And guess what? The Nimrod computer knew the math perfectly.
So this was the challenge thrown down to the public in 1951. You, a regular person, versus this giant electronic brain that could calculate every single possible move. Could you find a flaw in its perfect logic? Could you actually beat the machine?
Now, a machine this revolutionary doesn't just appear out of thin air. So who were the brilliant minds that actually created this pioneer of electronic entertainment? Well, the whole concept came from a guy named John Makepeace Bennett, who had just graduated from Cambridge. But the actual build was handled by Ferranti, which was a real powerhouse in the early British computer industry. And just to give you a sense of their influence, in the exact same year they debuted the Nimrod, they also launched the Ferranti Mark I, one of the world's very first computers you could actually buy.
But the Nimrod story, it didn't end when the Festival of Britain closed down. This humble gaming machine was about to go on a bit of a world tour, and in doing so, it became this global ambassador for a brand new kind of human-machine interaction.
So after captivating London for about 5 months, it was packed up and reassembled in Berlin for a trade show a year later, which for the time was a massive technical challenge. Its final known stop was in Toronto, Canada, before it was finally retired for good.
And this is so crucial to remember. There was no video screen here, no pixels, no graphics, nothing like that. The whole game board was just a panel of simple light bulbs. I mean, it was primitive by our standards, but to the public in 1951, it must have felt like pure magic. And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. For so many people, their very first interaction with a computer wasn't for calculating taxes or analyzing data. It was to play a game. Nimrod proved, for the first time on a public stage, that people were absolutely fascinated by the idea of going head-to-head with a machine.
Let's just pause for a second and appreciate that journey. We went from a single game of logic on a refrigerator-sized machine using light bulbs to entire virtual worlds in brilliant 4K that you can hold in the palm of your hand. The leap it's just astonishing. So, the story of gaming didn't start with shooting aliens or hitting a digital ball. It began with a quiet game of logic played on a panel of lights. It started the very moment we, as people, realized that challenging a machine could actually be fun. And if we've come this far since that refrigerator-sized computer in 1951, you have to wonder, what does the next frontier for play even look like?